All right, so finally, my topic, and oh gosh, this is one that I've been thinking of even before the Nintendo Switch was revealed, because I may misinterpreted this as a few people suggested on one of my videos before, but basically during an interview, I think it was an investors meeting, Nintendo said that to recuperate some of the cost or production value that went into making Breath of the Wild, and especially the engine that it uses since they made it from scratch, they're going to be reusing the engine with other franchises, and I think there was talks about it being used in Mario, and it kind of made me think, how could they reinvigorate the Mario series or the Mario franchise for the NX, since it's going to be this home console that you can also take on the go. It needs to include things that I would say people want for a home console experience, so that sit down, play with your friends beside you on the couch, or the couch co-op as a lot of people call it. But you also want those quick stages that you get from on-the-go Mario games, to where you can just play 1 or 2 levels in 5 or 10 minutes, and then you're good. So, how do you think Nintendo's going to be able to incorporate these ideals, or whatever ideals you have for the next Mario game, into the Nintendo Switch? And do you think what they showed off for the Nintendo Switch during the Mario scene, where they're in that Mexico Day of the Dead themed city, or that apartment, and then they go to the rooftop? I mentioned earlier, it looks like a traditional Super Mario 64 or Sunshine Galaxy style game, to where the camera's behind your back, you have the triple jump, and then that long jump that everybody got used to in Super Mario 64. But when she takes the game to the other rooftop to play with her friends, she takes off the controller, and they don't show what's on the screen, but you assume they continue playing Mario, since all the other games, whenever they moved it from one place to another to show the portability factor, they continued playing the same game. The guy continued playing Breath of the Wild. The guy that was playing Skyrim, when he got to the airplane, if I believe it was the same guy, he continued playing Skyrim. The guy that was playing Mario Kart, he got in the van, and then he was still playing Mario Kart. So you assume this woman was still playing whatever this Mario game is. So does that hint that it could be multiplayer? Since traditionally, like a game like Skyrim, you wouldn't be able to play with one of the Joy-Con controllers, because, like, each button has its own unique thing that it does. But with a game as simple as Mario, you don't really necessarily need all those buttons. You need, like, attack, jump, and run, and then the stick to move around, and basically that's it. So you could play it with as few buttons that are on one of the Joy-Con controllers, and make it 2-player if you split it like that. So yeah, do you guys think this is something Nintendo was hinting at, or do you think it was just showing off that, once again, you can split it up into 2 different controllers, and basically your ideal for a Mario game on Nintendo Switch?
Oh, can I go first? Because
yeah,
go ahead.
You can go first. I kind of went on a little rant there about that, so I apologize.
yeah, no, it's fine. I was when you were talking about a special functionality between the controllers, I remembered back in Super Mario 3D. Excuse me. Super Mario 3D World, each character got their special attribute, where basically Luigi jumped higher, Mario was basically neutral, Rosalina got that special spin tack, Toad was faster, and Peach floated for like a little bit. And maybe those kinds of attributes could be assigned to specific characters, but maybe they could also be assigned to specific controllers where each character is assigned to one specific controller where they have a special type of skill that they can use, like back in 3D World. Because basically 3D World was multiplayer, but it was kind of a bit like a bit of competitive multiplayer because basically everyone shared the same lives.
Yeah. And once you finished a level or a course, it would rank who got the most points or coins.
Yes.
So
and the point and the one who got the most amount of points would wear the crown and can be knocked off and put onto someone else.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think that would be an interesting way to do it. You're implying that they bring back that sort of co-op rivalry aspect.
Well, a lot of people kind of thought that everyone sharing lives was a bit dumb, because I also would say that myself, because pretty much in my eyes the entire point of Mario multiplayer is basically to help out each other rather than trying to kill each other by throwing each other off the cliff.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe everyone should not share lives, but they can also hurt each other. Like, they can still touch each other so that there's still competitive aspects in it, but it's not that if you screw over one person, you screw over everyone.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, for instance, if you wanted to have a little rivalry going on and you threw your partner off the ledge, you're not just taking away his life, you're taking away a life from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I get what you're saying, and I mean, it would be interesting if they had it to where if you get a power up, you keep your power up while the other player gets to collect their own power ups. Because as it is in 3D World,
everyone shares power ups.
Yeah, not only do you share lives, but you might get the cat suit or something. And right now, while you're playing, you need some other suit. You need to be able to spit the fireballs to hit a certain enemy. And you want to save the cat suit for later, but then your friend uses your cat suit that you were able to get, and now, you're just left out to dry, basically. So it would be nice if they incorporated a system to where each player had their own lives, each player had their own items, each player basically were their own character,
and I
instead
think
of
that
sharing everything.
A limit for how many power-ups that each player could have could be at the very least 2 and at the very highest 3. Because I think that sharing 5 power-ups in 3D World was okay, but also the aspect of that everyone can pick up a power-up that is stored will also put in competitive aspects where basically you want to save a power, like what you said, Jesse, where you want to save a power-up, but someone has to use a power-up to make sure that they live longer.
Yeah. I think a great way to do this is if they had different modes. Like, once you start playing at the beginning of a level or something, it asks you if you want to play co-op or whatever, to where you do share all this stuff, or you can play in a different mode to where you have your own thing while someone else has their own lives and their own items.
Or they could also do a super hard mode where basically they all do all that stuff from 3D World and add in aspects like what Twilight Princess HD did, where basically you do a hero mode where where you basically, if you get hit once with like a power up, it basically turns into like baby mode, and then you take like one hit and you're pretty much done and you die. So basically you take the power-ups really wouldn't matter in that mode.
Yeah.
I think that would also be a great addition where basically it adds more difficulty to the already difficult levels that they might incorporate in this new Mario game. Because every Mario game needs an ultra difficult level that we need to cry at for hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting if they did do something like that to where they had the optional hard mode to where I would imagine it being something like
because you said something about one of the developers talking about them using the same engine from Breath of the Wild on Mario.
But that's not necessarily something new because like I'm sure you and a lot of other people know, like, the engine in Super Mario 64 was the same engine they used in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. The Wind Waker engine was used in Twilight Princess, Super Mario Sunshine, and Star Fox Adventures, as well as several other games. So you can use the same engine and get several completely different games out of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that if they used it for Mario, it would be an open world game to where Mario's climbing on all of these different rocks or whatever.
And he's shield surfing. Because apparently that's a thing.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there like some sort of snowboarding or snow surfing in Mario 64?
You slid down on your belly.
Yeah.
And you also had slides in Mario 64.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not necessarily something that couldn't be in the game, but the engine just means that they already have a base of what they want to do. They could share the same enemy intelligence, the AI. So it just means they basically just get a head start in developing the game instead of making a brand new engine just for the Mario game. But going back to what you were saying about the multiplayer aspect, I think that's something that they could do. Instead of incorporating it in a 3D world or 3D land style game, I would love to see it in traditional, like, behind the back camera style, like Super Mario 64, Sunshine, Galaxy, or what we've seen in the Nintendo Switch trailer, to where they showed like the Day of the Dead thing, or the Mexico theme.
Maybe the overworld could be seasonal, like in Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Rick, we've neglected your thoughts on this.
No,
you've been awfully
I'm just
quiet.
letting you guys go. So what I would like to see is if they are, going to use the same engine. What I'd really like to see out of this Mario game is something more akin to Mario 64. I played Sunshine. I haven't played. You guys would probably kill me. I haven't played Galaxy, or 3D World.
Yeah.
So.
Real quick, Rick. Ocarina of Time, until I think 2012, Ocarina of Time, this isn't just opinion or whatever, it was the #1 rated game of all time, out of every game in existence ever, until Super Mario Galaxy 2 beat it by like a 0.1%.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So
You piqued my interest.
Right now, Super Mario Galaxy 2 is literally the very best game that has ever existed. Not my opinion, but fact. Because if you
is a game that has barely any story at all.
If you add up what they go by is if you add up like all of the reviews and average it out. Obviously, Ocarina of Time got like all 10s and 9s and stuff, as well as dozens of other games. Like, there's tons of games that get released that has like all 10s, but Super Mario Galaxy 2, from all of its collective reviews, averages out to be the #1 game ever.
Wow. I'm definitely gonna have to check it out then if it's that good.
Again, not
I haven't
my
even
opinion.
played Galaxy yet.
But in my opinion, I'd really like to see something more akin to Super Mario 64. or Mario 64. Just because I liked how they did that, to where you had a hub world, and then if you wanted to go run in real quick into a painting and just get 1 star, you could do that. You didn't have to stay in that painting the whole time. After you got that star, you were out. And I think you were saying something about that a minute ago, being able to play really quickly for about 5-10 minutes and then jumping right off, instead of having to finish an entire level. You can just go in and get something similar to that. And even the world that they showed in the Switch trailer, it
looks like something you would get from jumping into one of these mini worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
In Super Mario 64, there's like the snow worlds or the giant worlds where you're really tiny, and then the small worlds where you're really big, the water worlds, the lava worlds, desert. There's like all these different worlds.
Yeah.
The Mexico or Day of the Dead theme would just go along with one of these stylized worlds.
I was actually thinking of something, and it has a little bit of something to do with the multiplayer stuff that we talked about earlier. And this could add to the competitive aspects that we talked about, where basically, you know, about all of these paintings that they had in Mario 64, where basically you had a lot of freedom in how you would tackle these worlds back then, where you basically had multiple stars in one world. Well, maybe there is imagine that all of the stars were obtainable right now in one world. Like, maybe let's just say Acorn Plains from Super Mario Bros. U. Imagine that you have 2 people going on different paths, getting different stars. Not only would that add to the completion of the game, but also you could figure out which one gets the more stars, adding to the competitive aspects. So
that would be a crazy idea that I would love.
Yeah,
well, remember, I'm full of
interesting.
crazy ideas, Jesse.
Yeah. All right, but Rick, you were and then like in the middle of explaining your ideal before I interrupted you.
So. Oh no, you're good. But basically, getting into the whole using the engine type thing, one thing that I'd really like to see them transfer over from Breath of the Wild with their engine, and they could do this with a ton of different games too, and I'd love to see it, but just the physics engine that they put in Breath of the Wild, I think you could have a lot of fun with that in Mario. I'm not too familiar with the engines that they do use for Mario, but
I instantly think of in Breath of the Wild how you can light the grass on fire. If if you're spitting the fireballs as Mario with the power up, if you could spit at certain grass and the grass would catch on fire, or
and the grass could hold power ups or coins.
Yeah. I mean, it would be crazy for it to go that far with bringing in the Zelda aspects, but I mean, that would be cool if it did, instead of just relying on enemies or blocks to get coins.
Remember, I'm full of crazy ideas.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see something similar to that get brought over into the game. You could do a bunch of funky things with Mario's jump, being able to launch Mario using other characters or something like that. I mean, imagine picking up another character and tossing them with that physics engine and then being able to, like, flop around. It would you'd have some really good laughs, I bet, if they put that physics engine in there.
Also add to the competitive stuff.
Yeah, if you're I honestly think, now to move on to the controller and the chick taking it outside, I honestly do think they were alluding to Mario being the 3D Mario being a 2-player thing. And I think it's interesting that it has that camera angle, yet she brought it outside and was able to play, 2-player on it. I'm excited to see how they would implement that, if it's a split screen, more akin to Mario Kart, because that'd be kind of hard to have the 2 viewpoints like that without having it split screen.
Yeah, I see it if it did something similar to, as you said, with Mario Kart, or That's if you're playing on the same console, but
Mm-hmm.
now Nintendo's never done this, but it's something they always should do because I think multiplayer Mario is a lot more fun than just playing by yourself. But you don't always have someone there with you that either likes Mario or necessarily wants to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So having an online functionality
Mm-hmm.
would be really great, and we've seen them do it decently in Splatoon. Like, you need the voice chat, which they said didn't improve on the gameplay experience, but let's be honest, like, a lot of people either went on Discord or Skype while they were playing so they could talk to the people they were playing with.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, Discord didn't even exist when Splatoon came out, did it?
I'm not sure.
I don't
but
think it did.
Well, I know like certain people now they use it as like a workaround to Nintendo not putting in its own voice chat. And then even in Smash Brothers, like you could only talk while you're waiting on the game to load.
Well, that was only a problem with the internet connection.
Yeah. And then so if they implemented full-on multiplayer like we're used to on Xbox or PlayStation into a Mario game, to where if you don't have anyone to play couch co-op, you can still play with one of your friends that you have online. Or as they showed with the Nintendo Switch in this trailer, there was a lot of people that had that were with their friends that also had the Nintendo Switch. The guy sat down at the airport next to the girl that was also playing a Nintendo Switch. There was the people at the park sitting around playing basketball, and then they all four turned on their Nintendo Switch and played the NBA game. There was the people sitting around playing Splatoon. So the fact that they put such an emphasis on a lot of people being together, having their own Nintendo Switches, makes me think that there's a chance that they could be going with this traditional online multiplayer that we're used to. And if that's the case, then it would work out absolutely perfectly for Mario. Especially, even if it was the way that Ashley was saying, to where, you know, someone could theoretically go into one painting while you're in another, so you can collect coins or stars faster to get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Even something like that, you could just put an icon on the map of like where they are. So like if you're in the overworld or the hub world, like Peach's Castle in Super Mario 64, you don't necessarily need to have like all of the paintings having their own maps or whatever while you're in the overworld. Just have like a little icon of whatever character they're playing as in whatever location of the map that they're in, and then once you go there, you can see that they're in that painting that's in that room. And then once you go in the room, then you can see the map of where they're at inside that level. And something like that could work, or if it did do the traditional split screen, I apologize. I started rambling.
Oh
again.
no, you're good,
No.
dude.
Or maybe
There's-
Nintendo will be just lazy like they were in Hyrule Warriors and not put in multiplayer at all. Which would suck.
You're speaking of the 3DS version, right?
No, I'm talking about the Wii U. They didn't have online multiplayer for the Wii U version.
Yeah, that was a big bummer.
And
They
can I
did
talk?
good on the local multiplayer, yeah.
I just lost my train of thought. I hate it when I did that. What was I gonna? Oh yeah. Talking about the online multiplayer, I thought about basically, what if you were stuck on this one level and you were trying to get this one star that you couldn't figure out? You could go online and basically look for someone who's like, hey, I'm having trouble finding this star. Can someone help me out? And basically try to lower the use of guides, which I don't really like using guides, even though that I do use them, which is weird, but I'm gonna ignore that. but but it would help maybe make some new friends through Nintendo and help you out in the long run, because basically you might get stuck on one level or trying to find one star and you need some help. And it's basically like what Intelligent Systems did with their Fire Emblem game, with Fire Emblem Fates, where basically you're looking for one specific skill to put on your character, and then there's someone out there in the castle system who has that skill on their character, and basically you can battle for being able to have that skill. Even though that system was completely broken and should definitely be nerfed, I think that it's a good concept that maybe should be adapted to maybe Mario.
Yeah, I mean, that's it would be interesting if you could do that, because like as it is right now in Mario games, they have it to where if you can't beat a certain level, they give you the power up that pretty much makes you invincible, like in Super Mario 3D World, or they have like a ghost runner to where you can just like watch them make it across or skip the level entirely and use Super Mario Bros. U. It's been a while since I played it, but I think they had that to where if you kept losing at a level, you could either skip it or they would have like an automatic thing to show you how to get through the level.
I think they'd have you I think they'd have Luigi show you how to do it in U, I think.
Yeah, so like replacing that with more of a buddy system to where you get someone else to help you out, or you can choose to help someone out, I think that would be a way better solution than just having the game show you.
But they need to be careful with the system, because in any system, people will find a way to cheat it, like they did with Fire Emblem, where you can basically get free skills instead of actually battling people. And that system desperately needs to be nerfed. It's just one day. It's just they need to be careful. If they do plan on implementing this, they need to be careful on how they do it.
Yeah. Going back to the structure of this Mario game on the Switch, Ashley and Rick, how do you envision it being? Like Rick earlier mentioned, having like the Super Mario 64 style overworld to where you have the different levels as the paintings or whatever. How would you personally like the overworld of this game to be? Like traditionally, there's never been, to my knowledge, an expansive open world Mario game. Like the closest we got, I think, is Super Mario 64, but even that, you're limited to the inside of the castle and then the immediate area outside of the castle. But you could go, depending on how many stars you had, you could go to whichever level you wanted to. There was always like at least 2 or 3 options after like the first few levels that you, or the first few paintings you jump into. There was options of where you could go next to get the stars that you need, or you could skip levels entirely as long as you had the stars to make it through the next unlocked door. So how do you guys specifically see this? Would you want it to be another castle setting to where it acted as the hub world and have paintings, or would you like a new element implemented into the game, whether it's warp pipes, or maybe they're not even leveled off to where they're paintings? Maybe it's just open world to the sense that the entire hub area acts as an overworld? Or do you prefer the Super Mario 3D World style to where it's like a 2D map that you can walk around on in 3D?
And there are little secrets around here, like invisible pipes that you can find. I think I actually preferred that over 64 because there were certain areas that you couldn't go to unless you had a certain amount of stars. And that is still true in 3D World, but there are a lot more things that you could do in specific areas. Like, if you if there was a gate that you needed to unlock using the stars in 3D World, you could still walk around the map and look for secrets. Like, I really like that, how basically the map wasn't limited to the amount of stars that you had, where in 64 it was. So I think that maybe keeping the same amount, like Overworld, as 3D World did, but putting in a little bit more secrets and hidden levels in it, I think that would please at least me.
Yeah. Well, Rick, if you could have your ideal overworld for Mario, how would you like it? Would you like it in a certain way, or if you can think of a new way that you would like?
I would personally, I'd like the hub world to be more of the main overworld, and then you're able to either just go through a door or painting or whatever, what have you. I'd like it to be split up like that, only because of the fact that I think Mario would feel a little weird just being completely open world. At some point, you're gonna have to break it off, so then you have different levels. But I would like to see the more open world in the overworld, and being able to go to like a desert location and then being able to do those levels and stuff like that. Similar to how Peach's Castle is, but I'd like to be able to see the actual like Mario world or whatever, and then being able to go into those subsections of that world, to go into the levels more detailed and stuff. Almost like how Paper Mario is structured, to where you go through and it's mostly flat 2D or whatever, with the 3D aspect, of course, but you're able to visit. You're able to go through the Mario world, and see everything, and not have it be so much of a platformer or side scroller, and it's more like an RPG mixed with the side scroller almost. So I'd like to see it more like that, but with 3D like 64 style. Be pretty cool.
Because the RPG series needs a really good kick in the backside these days after color mess, as I like to call it.
Yeah, I on this, I like the ideals that Ashley had, but I would lean more towards the way that Rick has envisioned Mario. And because I don't know if this is necessarily the way you were describing it, but the way that I think would be interesting is if you had the hub world like in Super Mario 64, but instead of being limited to the castle and the outside of it, if you have this huge hub world to where there's like a desert section of the hub world, and then you can go there, and say there's 8 different hub worlds that are kind of connected, you could walk to without having to load. And then once you're in the hub world, it brings in other people that are playing online, as Ashley was mentioning, like the online multiplayer earlier. And there would be people there, and it would resemble something like Splatoon, to where once you start, you're in, I don't even know what it's called.
Inkopolis?
Yeah, you're in Inkopolis. You can see the other people playing Splatoon, walking around, making messages and stuff. If they implemented something like that with each of the hub worlds, and then you could go up to someone that wants to play a certain level or something, and then like they can have the messages up to where they're saying, I need help on this level or whatever, then you can go team up with them, and then you can go tackle that level. But like there would be like the desert hub world, the ice or snow hub world, the underwater world, like there are in every Zelda or every Mario game. But they're all they're more open, and then they would have those secrets that Ashley was talking about, to where if you don't want to jump straight into a level, then you can still explore around the hub world as you could in Super Mario 3D World, or even Mario 64, how you could not jump into a painting, but you could still find stars in certain locations, or you could find secret doors that led to different areas that you didn't think were there initially, like in if you drain the water in the moat outside the castle, you can go into the basement of the castle. Things like that, secrets in the overworld. I think that would be the best of both worlds with the new Super Mario game. And something I would really like, but would almost be too much if they implemented some sort of like they had the mini game in Super Mario 3D World that they ended up turning into Toad's Captain
Toad's Treasure Tracker.
Yeah, if they had certain, instead of having that kind of mini game, if they had some sort of Mario Party-esque mini games that you could play with other people. Because, the Captain Toad games were kind of single-player experiences, even if you're playing couch co-op with your friends in Super Mario 3D World. When you play one of the Toad levels, suddenly it's a single-player experience while they sit there. But if instead they replaced the Toad-style levels with games or mini-games that you would expect from Mario Party or whatever, I think that would be a great way to have these levels that kind of separate themselves from the Mario levels and give you something fun to do, but isn't single player like the Toad. Now it's involving everyone playing. So, but I think that would again be going a bit too far, because they would need to basically program two games into one, which they could do, but yeah, just my thoughts. I was
thinking a lot about the metaphor between Splatoon and Mario, and I was thinking back to what I said about the characters and the different attributes, is that maybe you could choose one character, but as like your main, but you can character that you play, but you can also change to different play styles to different characters, and that character would be like what they did with Splatoon, where your character would have different clothes and different hairstyles, different eye color, and there would be like Peach, Toad, Luigi, Mario. There could be like a couple Luigis, a couple Toads in the desert world, representing different players. I think it would be kind of funny just to see 5,000 Peaches running around the world. I thought you were supposed to be in the castle, Peach. I just would find that very funny, and also kind of cut the immersiveness, but would also still be very funny. And really what pretty much every game needs is humor, really.
Yeah, I forgot what game it was, but it let you play as like the main character, but then everyone else that you seen appeared as a secondary character. So like
are we
okay, the one that comes to mind is Watch Dogs. Like if you're playing online, then you appear as the main character that you'd play in the story, but everyone else playing, even though in their game they appear as that character, to you they look like a normal citizen, so they blend in with the NPCs. If they did something to where because we're used to like a bunch of Toads running around, so like if you're playing as Mario and someone playing with you is playing as Luigi or Peach or even their own Toad, then everyone in your party would look like the people they were playing as, but all the other people that are playing online or running around the hub world that weren't necessarily in your party would just look like different colored Toads running around.
Yeah, it would kind of save internet connection power, I think.
That way, to you, like, it wouldn't break the immersion because you're not seeing 5 different Marios running around or 3 different Peaches running around because they're supposed
10 million Rosalinas.
Yeah, you're just seeing a bunch of different colored toads, which, you're used to seeing a bunch of different toads, so it doesn't necessarily break the immersion. But I think that pretty much brings us to the very end of this discussion. So are there any final thoughts that any of you would like to add? I'm losing my voice.
There is also a very strong possibility that everything we're talking about could not even be in the game.
Yeah.
And that we're just wild speculating.
Yeah, that's, the fun of this is to share our ideas of what we want from the Mario Switch game. And then hopefully in the comments, the people listening or watching will give us their ideas of what they would want in a Mario game.
And have Nintendo only fulfill some of those wishes.
Yeah.
Quality company right there.
See, there are some developers that, they look at fan response of what they want, but Nintendo's not necessarily one of those companies that do it.
No.
When Ocarina of Time 3D came out, everybody wanted Majora's Mask 3D. And they had the Project Moonfall, which was the petition to get it. And there was thousands and thousands of people that signed it. And in the end, we got Majora's Mask 3D, but Nintendo said it wasn't necessarily because fans wanted it. It was just because they automatically started working on it as soon as Ocarina of Time 3D finished. It was just the next logical step.
Mm-hmm.
So it may have seemed like they were listening to the fan base, but
they really weren't.
They already had it planned. It just turns out it's what the fans actually wanted. So maybe, this next Mario game will again be what we want.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, any last things to add?
Nope.
I don't want to talk anymore. I think my voice is going out too.
All right. Well, in that case, for the people that, for some reason, are listening about 2 hours into the conversation, let them know again who you are and what they can see on your own channels. We're looking forward to seeing.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, okay. I was gonna let you, but okay. Well, what you guys can hopefully see in the upcoming future is hopefully my take on Breath of the Wild's timeline placement and maybe tying in some loose ends that The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker didn't tie, and maybe how that could deal with the timeline placement of Breath of the Wild. So I'm having a theory on that will hopefully be coming out in a couple of weeks. I don't know, the next few weeks are going to be blah for me.
I've got a new top 5 coming out soon. It should probably be out this week, probably towards the end of the week, but stay tuned for that. And like I said earlier, you guys can find me on YouTube at ArmFH and on Twitter at ArmFH Gaming. See you later.
Oh yeah, I forgot to give my credentials. You guys, I have my own Facebook and Twitter, both of them. I go by the name Ashley Akana, and my Twitter is at Real Ashley Akana on Twitter.
And for those that don't know Ashley, where is Icona?
What?
For those that don't know, where is Icona?
I just thought of the name Ashley Akana because it's related to my favorite area in Majora's Mask, so I thought that maybe I could tie into the lore of my own character being from a descendant of the royal family of Ikana Kingdom in Majora's Mask.
Awesome. Yeah, I was hoping you would explain it correctly for the people.
Yeah.
Because Icona just happens to be one of my favorite places in Majora's Mask as well, because all the places in Majora's Mask is full of mystery, but Icona, I think, is the most mysterious, because it's the last place you go to in the game, and then everything's basically already dead. But yeah, anyways, thank you both for joining. What was supposed to be a lot shorter of a discussion turned into almost 2 hours, so sorry for taking up your time. But thank you both for joining, especially on such short notice.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No problem.
What's up everyone, this is Jesse, and welcome to The Insulate. I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you're a fan of my Zelda or gaming news theory or discussion videos like this, please consider supporting this channel by donating through patreon.com/gameoverjesse, where you can get new videos early, be able to join on discussion or theory videos, get shoutouts, and tons of other great rewards. Thank you all so much for allowing me to do this, watching my videos, and especially you Alex Myers, Jonathan, The Itch Network, and John Frank for your support on Patreon.